Seeing all the benefits of the B.O.S.S Wealth Plan has really got me excited. But to help me understand it better, can you give me some examples using real numbers?
Okay, Paul, this is actually my favorite part. This is what I really enjoy doing is showing people how the B.O.S.S Wealth Plan can make a difference. And first of all, let's take a look at a 36-year-old who's putting in $10,000 a year into his plan, a little bit less than $1,000 a month. And it's important to note that our plan is built on 4 foundation pillars. And those 4 pillars are debt elimination, build wealth, retirement, and legacy planning. Those 4 foundational columns become very important in what we do with the B.O.S.S Wealth Plan. So let's just take a look and see what this $10,000 per year will do for this individual. So if he were to start his plan, the first thing it would do is it would give him a death benefit of $300,000 to start off with his plan. And his first year cash value would be $6,500. So if he were paying an annual premium, he would have 65% of his cash value available to him instantly day one when his policy started. Now what could he use this for? If this individual, we'll call him John, let's say he had some high interest credit card debt that he was paying 15, 16, 17% interest, he could take a policy loan, pay that debt off, and he could use that cash value to now help him eliminate debt faster and be able to get rid of some of the high interest credit card payments that he has. So now that we've seen how the plan starts, let's go ahead and fast forward until age 70 and see how his wealth has been built. First of all, you'll notice that the biggest change is his death benefit has grown from $300,000. It's grown by $1 million and it's now $1.3 million. I do not know of a better inflation hedge than that. One of the unfortunate problems with a traditional whole life policy, if it was a level death benefit, it'd say $300,000. $300,000 when he's age 70 buys a significantly less amount of items than it did when he was age 36. But that death benefit has grown by over $1 million, which is phenomenal. But look at this. This is his cash value now at age 70. He has $830,000 available to him. Now, Paul, important to note here, this was based off of his guaranteed growth. He wasn't subject to market fluctuations. He didn't have to worry about the real estate market or what the price of gold was or any other type of investment. This was solid guaranteed return that he would have available to him. And then, this is the most exciting part that I think happens right here. Tyson and I talked about how we were concerned about the retirement problems, the problems with Social Security. And we were looking for a way to have an amount that we knew we could count on for retirement income. So now Paul, what he can now use his cash value for is instead of using it to buy major purchases, he could start to take a supplemental retirement income stream, which in this case would be $60,800 per year on a tax-free basis if it's done correctly. Now, one thing I'd like to point out here is if you had a 401k or an IRA, you may need to take out $70,000 or $80,000, depending what the tax bracket is, to be able to have that same spendable amount. With the B.O.S.S Wealth Plan, that is all spendable income on a yearly basis. Now, one of the things that you can do is you look at this, when you get to the retirement phase of this, you can simply call the insurance company or call the advisor and say, I'd like to understand how much of a retirement income I could take each year. And depending on how long you would like to take that, maybe 10, 20, 30, or even more years from that, they can adjust the amount. So this amount right here is based on 20 years. So if he were to take this income from age 70 to age 90 and then still have the remaining death benefit pass on to his beneficiaries, the total benefit for this would have been $1,585,000 that John would have received over his lifetime. Now that lifetime benefit all came on a tax-efficient, tax-advantaged, and tax-free basis to John and also his beneficiaries.
Ryan, that is a powerful example. But how can someone use the strategies you've developed in the B.O.S.S Wealth Plan to maximize their whole life policy?
So now, we've talked about this before, how great the B.O.S.S Plan is and how it can change the financial future for so many people in this country. I want to show you how it can get even better. And to do that, what I'd like to do, Paul, is let me help you understand one of the problems. We call it the middle class dilemma. And let me just show you what that is. One of the tools that we use in our program is we use what we call the Wealth Blueprint. The Wealth Blueprint is a tool that helps you understand where you're at in your financial life. And for the average American, if they they're paying 35% of their total income that they make every single year simply towards debt payments. What are those debt payments? Well, you take credit cards, and that's one portion of it. You take an auto loan, and that's another portion. And then typically the largest financial investment anyone will make in their lifetime is a home. And a home is one of the great blessings to have because it provides so many benefits, but it's also tends to be the largest expense that you're going to have. And so if this individual were making $10,000 per month, they would have $3,500 that they would be paying just towards their credit cards, automobile, and mortgage payments. And unfortunately, they tend to be on the wrong side of the equation. And let me talk about how a banking transaction works. If we look at this average American, what are we taught? We're taught to save some money for a rainy day. We're taught to put aside some available funds so if we have an emergency, that's there and available to us. So oftentimes, they'll go to the bank and they'll say, hey, it's a good idea to save this $10,000 a year. And he says, hey, I'm going to go down to the local bank and puts a deposit in and he's going to earn, let's say, 1% interest. Now, for right now in the current market, it may be 0.5% interest. In a more average time, it may be 2 or 3% interest. But he's going to earn 1%. Now, on the other side of this equation, and on the wealth blueprint, are those who earn money and those who pay money. So the bank is going to pay this average American here, they're going to pay him 1%, which is going to be a cost to the bank. They have to make that payment every year to the saver. Well, then what happens is this person, this average American, in this case we're going to say it's John, he decides, you know what? It would be really nice if I had that new automobile that costs $25,000 that I've seen at the local car lot. Now, is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing to want a new car. And one of the things I find that's comical is we talk to clients, I'll ask them, tell me about the way that you buy your cars. And oftentimes they'll say, oh, I buy a car and I drive it into the ground. And I'll then follow up with that question. I say, okay, well, how long have you been married? I say, I've been married 10 years. And I'll ask them, how many cars have you had during those 10 years? And they'll say 6. So obviously I know that they have a different car buying pattern. And this really starts to add up. When you're looking at paying interest, all of the automobile expenses, the home expenses, those continue to add up. And so, John here decides he wants that car and he goes down and he decides that it is okay if he pays 6% interest. And, he's going to be able to have some additional, better transportation and it's going to give him a need that he wants. But I want you to look at the importance of the banking transaction here. The bank is now going to earn 6%. And so you can see clearly the picture that continues to happen over and over again. And this is why we call it the middle class dilemma. Because on this side of the equation, those who stay on this side of the equation pay interest. Those who are on this side of the equation earn interest. And it makes a significant difference at the end. And let's show this now in the B.O.S.S plan. We're going to take John's same $10,000, but now instead of going to the bank after 4 or 5 years, he's going to have enough cash value in his policy to go take a policy loan and pay cash for that vehicle. Now all he's going to do is he's simply going to change where he makes his payment. Instead of making his payment to the bank, here, he's going to make his monthly payment back to himself into his whole life policy in his B.O.S.S plan. And let's see the difference in the result. Let's fast forward this now to age 70. Now, his death benefit, because of the way that he was using the policy, instead of being $1.3 million, is now $1,700,000. So an additional $400,000 worth of death benefit. Now, his cash value at age 70 had grown to over $1 million, $1,033,000, simply by paying the interest back to himself and buying one automobile. Now, Paul, how many automobiles do you have in your garage?
3.
You have 3, okay. How many children do you have, Paul?
5.
And how many cars do they typically have in their garage?
Probably an average of 2.
Average of 2. Think about, even in your own family, if you were to take this principle and instead of buying cars the wrong way, you bought them the right way in the B.O.S.S Wealth Plan. And that's just one example. When we add to this, we're going to have, this is one car. Remember, this result right now I'm showing you is one car. Now when he gets to retirement, he's going to be able to increase his retirement income to $75,700. It gave him an additional $15,000 in annual income. Now times that by 20 years. That starts to add up. The death benefit's larger, the supplemental retirement income is larger, and he now received a total lifetime death benefit or total lifetime benefit of $1,971,000. Okay, now when you look at the difference between this example when he's maximizing it by financing and this by simply he had a great plan, he just chose to put it on autopilot. The difference here is $386,000. Okay, that is a lifetime benefit change by simply financing one vehicle. Let me show you where that now is placed on the wealth blueprint. Instead of paying interest over here, he's put it over on the right side, and he's now has an extra $386,000 to benefit him during his retirement. Now, Paul, it's important to note here, he didn't take any additional risks. He just simply did what he was already doing. Had a need for a car, he used it out of his whole life plan. And as he used that and paid the interest back to him instead of to the bank, it built his plan, it increased his retirement income, and you know what? Even more important, we talk about legacy, we talk about being able to pass things on to other people. He was able to pass an additional $386,000 worth of benefit by simply just financing that. And we love showing people how this can work because it's a powerful, powerful concept that if you just change one simple way, that you're doing the things that you do every single day.
Ryan, that worked well for a 36-year-old. But what about someone who is 40, 50, or even 60 years of age?
You know, that's a great question. In fact, we recommend that anyone that's 20 to 65 years old needs to look seriously at starting their own B.O.S.S wealth plan. And even those who are over 65, there's a good reason why you would want to look at this. Let me just give you a couple other examples. We have clients who want to transfer wealth to their children or to their grandchildren. One of the things that you can do is you could take a B.O.S.S wealth plan and you could start it for a grandchild. You know, oftentimes one of the desires they have in helping with their estate tax issues is they want to gift money away from their estate. Well, why not gift money to a grandchild into their own B.O.S.S wealth plan that then can create a college fund for that child, or help them with their first car purchase, or help them to buy their first home. That could be done for somebody who's older. You know, someone who's 40 or 50, there's many, many benefits that can still come with this. And you know, that's why we recommend that age from 25 all the way to 65. You look serious at a B.O.S.S plan. So, you know, as we look at this, and just want to expand one additional thing here. Want to be able to open up your eyes to what if this was a business owner? You know, think of business owners. They have expenses for inventory. They have expenses for equipment. They have fleet vehicles. We have clients who now take the fleet vehicles that they have for, say, a heating and air conditioning company. Instead of leasing their fleet of trucks, they use this on a corporate level to pay themselves back. And not only does it build and provide for the fleet that they need, but it also builds the retirement for the business owner as well. We have dentists and medical professionals. You know, a dentist who's looking to expand his practice, looking to buy new equipment, upgrade the technology that he has. There's not a better way to do that, and it can all be done in a very simple, safe way. And really what you can do, Paul, is you can call and talk with our office. There's a qualified professional who can help you understand, and even more important than this example here, customize it to their numbers and customize it to what's important to you.